High temperatures in the upper 30s, but with wind gusts around 30, it'll feel more like freezing or even the 20s at times. Dipping into the teens tonight under a clear sky. It'll be cold for our Friday. Sunny and temperatures in the mid-40s. Gradually get warmer, though, and dry over the weekend. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Year-end specials, Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville. How about this for a bargain? 2024 Chevrolet Equinoxes. These are the LT models as low as $22,770. We have got over 25 of these vehicles in stock. You pick the color, drive it home today. That is a Randy Marion Chevrolet Statesville special. Again, $22,770. $22,770. Only a couple thousand miles on these vehicles. Come see them today. Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Hello and welcome to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. 4 o'clock hour on a Thursday. If you're a 9 to 5er, you got 53 minutes, 22 seconds until you get to that 5 o'clock bell, and I appreciate so much you spending that time with us here on Dollars and Cents as we give attention to, and perhaps we'll even spark a little conversation regarding items of financial and economic importance. Now, you know, as a previous listener here on Dollars and Cents, we're talking on any number of subjects. We're going to be looking at companies, investments, investment styles. We're going to be looking at some things perhaps in a little more of a positive light, maybe other things in a not so positive light. But in doing so, you recall again as a previous listener that nothing that we're talking about here is intended as a specific recommendation for you, meaning that everybody's situation is unique. Everybody has their own space financially where decisions are appropriate, whether it's right or not right to invest in certain things or not invest in certain things at a certain time. So we strongly recommend that you reach out to your tax advisor, to your financial advisor, or if you'd like to reach out to us at North Main Financial Group, love to hear from you. Love to chat about your particular financial situation, see if there are ways in which we might be able to be helpful to you. Online, you can find us at northmainfinancial.com. That's north like the direction, Main like the street, financial.com. We have a contact page on there. Leave us an email address or a phone number. Let us know the most preferred and desirable ways for us to contact you again at northmainfinancial.com. You're also welcome to call us here in the studio. I can't promise you I'm going to get to your particular question or subject matter. Once again, we got an hour that's just jam-packed with all kinds of good stuff here today. But if I can't get to it today, promise I'll get to it next week. I want to make sure that the things that we're talking about here are relevant, pertinent to your particular space, and helpful to you along the way. 844-STUDIO-4 is the number here in the studio. That's 844-788-3464, 844-788-3464 here in the studio. Producer Reese will take your call. And again, if I can't get to your subject matter today, I promise I'll get to it next week and make sure that we get it answered here. I can't give you the hot stock tips. You know that. I'm not your hot stock tip guy. Actually, if I'm the kind of guy who's giving you hot stock tips, you better just turn the channel. You better go find somebody else because I'm not that guy. I'm slow and steady and, in the absolutely overused, cliched, almost metaphorical aspect of the tortoise and the hare. Very happy being a tortoise. So I'm not that guy for that. But we're talking about good, long-term, sustaining kinds of financial planning and investment management kinds of thoughts. Well, maybe we can offer a thought or two to that. All right, let's get going here. As we get into what's hitting headlines, what's hot, what the kinds of things that you're probably seeing on your screens, certainly if you're looking at anything that has to do with business news and or business periodicals, online, in print. I mean, I hope you're looking at some in print. I mean, if you watch me here on the socials or on the WSIC app, which, by the way, if you don't have the WSIC app, go ahead on over there to the Apple Store or Google Store. Get on there, get the WSIC app. You know what's so nice about that? You can listen to all of our shows. Doesn't matter where you are. Don't have to be within radio signal range. I listen to it all the time when I travel. Very easy to do that. You get on the app, literally on the first page, which is good for people like me. It says press here if you want to listen to the live broadcast. I do that, and no matter where I am, I can pull it in. Go on over there, download the WSIC app, and you can listen to us over the air, over your phone, or over your tablet, or over your laptop, no matter where you are, as long as you have a signal there. But again, if you're watching me here, you can see that I got newsprint in front of me. Right, I do. I got the Wall Street Journal. I always do. I know I'm one of those throwback old stodgy types. Still likes to get that black newsprint on my fingers as I'm reading it here. But so many folks don't, and so that's kind of where we are as a consuming public when it comes not only to our news but to our entertainment kinds of things as well. So kind of interesting. These kinds of things are probably going to be on your radar screen. If they're not on your radar screen, it's not going to take too long until they're there. I'm going to start with one. Speaking of things that have to do with tablets and phones and laptops and all of those kinds of things, technology, I'm going to start out with one of the biggest ones out there. I mean, it's hard to come up with another company that has transformed our lives in terms of day-to-day activity. I'll say technology company, which has transformed our day-to-day lives more than the products offered by this company, and I'm looking at Apple. Now, you don't have to be an iPhone person. That's okay. I mean, I'm certainly not an advocate for Apple or saying that Android-related kinds of things are good, bad. I am definitely just not intelligent enough to be able to speak into it. I happen to use an Apple iPhone, but I don't like using Apple laptops. That just happens to be me. For that kind of thing. But certainly in terms of how they have transformed the universe in terms of our interactivity, not just for things that are entertainment related, but in terms of how we just live our day-to-day lives. I mean, think about the number of places where you can use just your phone instead of, as I did here recently, instead of having a boarding pass to get on a plane. You just zap that QR code right off of your phone. Or if it's something where you're paying for something, say at a coffee shop, and you can use Apple iPay or similar kind of service with your phone. You don't even need a credit card. Certainly don't need cash. My gosh, not many folks carrying currency around anymore. But there are so many ways in which the Apple, or the phone rather, our smartphones have replaced those kinds of things in so many ways with so many people, especially if you're in the under 40 age group. I mean, it seems like that there is just most of life that is just run right through the smartphones that we have. Pretty amazing stuff. So I'm mentioning all of that, talking about Apple specifically because they came out with an announcement here in the last week. By the way, ticker symbol for Apple, Alpha Paul Larry, AAPL. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds, but they came out with their next iteration. I got to put this in air quotes, because I can't look at the cost of this phone and think that this is the lower end of anything. But they came out with the 16E, 16E as in Edward, here in the last week or so. Lots of fanfare, lots of noise about it, lots of splash. Apple does that with pretty much everything. But it is their least expensive iPhone iteration. And when I say that, meaning of all the models that you can buy, this is the least expensive one. But again, you can probably see me if you're watching me on the socials here, just relative to my body language and maybe now even my voice tone. Anything that costs $599 or just a breath below $600, that is the least expensive iteration. That's an expensive gadget. Man, are these things expensive? They are. That's my opinion. You may not think that. You may think that it's not that expensive, but boy, in my end of the world, that is expensive. And that's the cheapest iteration or the least expensive iteration that's out there. I mean, you can spend well over $1,000 for an iPhone very easily anymore. And so it's a really expensive kind of experience out there. But Apple coming out with it, trying to, I would think at some level, ensure that the buying public, the purchasing public is still in a space where they're able to comfortably, let me say comfortably, maybe semi-comfortably, to afford that kind of thing. They came out with their monthly purchase plan structure here now a number of years ago that breaks it up into equal pieces so you don't have to pay all that amount up front. But we're still talking about an expensive gadget, folks. Pretty amazing. I mean, great stuff. Apple Intelligence, I don't even know what it does. I just know that it's pretty amazing. And it's probably going to continue to transform our lives in terms of how we live day to day and our interactivity, certainly with all things commerce related. But it'll be interesting to see how many of them Apple sells. How long can they keep going? How long can they keep selling this stuff? Well, you're going to have to hang around and find out. I appreciate you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. Hang with us as we come back on WSIC.
There's more of Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on the way from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, cold and windy for the rest of our Thursday evening. That wind starts to relax as we go into the late night hours, but it gets bitterly cold in the overnight hours. Temperatures will fall down into the upper teens by early Friday morning. It's a sunny day, but a chilly day to end the work week with high temperatures in the low to mid 40s. We'll stay dry through the weekend and into early next week and gradually get a little bit warmer. We're headed back to the 60s next week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Nina's Boutique.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Thursday, February 20th is a fundraiser for Soul to Soul's Connection at Rio 150 in Mooresville. Eat out on Thursday with Rio's Mexican food menu, and a portion of all proceeds go directly to veteran and first responder mental health problems. Your participation will help stop the stigma. Eat out at Rio 150 Mexican restaurant in Mooresville on Thursday and help raise funds for veteran and first responder mental health programs. Join the Statesville Chamber of Commerce on Thursday, February 20th for a night of celebration and recognition with the annual SAGE Awards for Statesville area growth and excellence. The event honors individuals and organizations that have made significant impacts on the community. The SAGE Awards begin at 6 p.m. Thursday at the Statesville Civic Center. Visit statesvillechamber.org for your tickets. Saturday night, Fortune 5 returns to the 500 Club in Statesville. Fortune 5 won the Battle of the Bands in 2024 and now bring their infectious energy to Statesville. Check out the Fortune 5 concert at 6 p.m. this Saturday at the 500 Club. Extreme Experience was founded with the goal of making the world's finest exotic cars accessible and to drive new Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and Porsches on the world-class racetracks. Extreme Experience provides the safest and most educational approach to drivers and passengers who wish to experience the thrill of the world's most exclusive cars. Book your Extreme Experience now at 866-273-7727 or visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for more information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
MuralFest 2025, presented by Window World, returns April 24th through the 27th in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear the Avett Brothers, Bonnie Raitt, The Dead South, Watch House, Wyatt Flores, I'm With Her, Leftover Salmon, The Warren Treaty, The Steel Drivers, and many more. For tickets, visit MuralFest.org.
Dollars and Cents continues now. Here's your host, Certified Financial Planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second quarter of today's show, Football Reference. You know, this is when we talk about football or sports, frankly. All things sports related, because you're probably listening saying, wait a minute, we just got done with football season. Super Bowl's behind us. You know, the college bowl season is well behind us. I mean, it's only been a couple of weeks, folks. I mean, come on. It hasn't been that long ago since we were in football season. And yes, we are unofficially and very unscientifically beginning here, at least during my show here on WSIC, talking about how many days there are until football camp starts in the summertime. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, and this is for all of my Carolina Panthers fans who still are with me here, please be reminded that at this point in the season, once again, we have the same opportunity as every other team in the NFL to win the Super Bowl. That's right this moment. I mean, write it down. Producer Reese believes me. He's a believer. He's not getting off this bus at this point. We've ridden it this far. We're going to ride it to the bloody end at this point. We continue to have the exact same possibilities to win the Super Bowl as the Kansas City Chiefs. We have the same possibility as the Philadelphia Eagles and anybody else. You put anybody else in there, Buffalo Bills, all those great teams, everybody starts out 0-0. Nobody gets any bonus points for being in the playoffs of the Super Bowl. None. You don't get free wins or anything like that. Same opportunities. Let's go get them, Panthers. I'm with you. Let's go get them again. All right. I appreciate you hanging in here into the second quarter of today's show. Keep it on. We were talking about Apple. I mean, it's hard to look at a technology company of any shape, size, or sort and to think that they have had more or a greater impact in terms of our day-to-day lives as Apple has had here over the last decade and a half or so, which, by the way, just in case anybody wants to get too far out of the realm, we're only about 15 years into the iPhone. I mean, it's not been that long that we've actually had them. I know it feels like they've been around forever, but it's only been about that long that we've had the iPhone and smartphones in general with the pervasiveness that we use them in today's society. So it's been a relatively short run, but they continue to come out with new iterations. Talked about the 16E there. And again, if that's the cheap one at $599, gosh, I mean, there's a lot of expensive options out there when it comes to smartphones. All right, let's pivot. We're going to stay in the technology arena, and I'm going to come to what has been, let's say, here over the last year or so, one of the darlings in the stock market. When I say darlings, I'm putting that in air quotes very intentionally, because it's not true that just because I'm calling it a darling that it's a good investment for you or it's appropriate for you to invest in it either before or now. Although if you've held on to it for a little while, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself, at least until the last couple of days here. And I'm looking at a group, a technology company called Palantir. Palantir, ticker symbol Paul, Larry, Tom, Roger. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds. Palantir, here from the time that they came public in the last several years. I don't remember the date right off the top of my head, but they went public here in the last several years. That they were primarily known for technology, AI-related resources that they offered to, and that the Department of Defense bought or retained them to develop. And so very well known for that. A lot of things that had some and continue to have some very significant national security kinds of focus points. And it's really only recently here that they've really accelerated their retail or public related style offerings, whether it's with regards to cybersecurity, whether it's regards to AI related infrastructure kinds of things, really just started to do that. And they have had an amazing run, even up to and including this year in 2025. I mean, the amount of movement, growth, positive movement that they've had here in 2025 until the last couple of days. And I've had to say this, a number of times here to folks over the last couple of days, is either folks have invested in it, wanted to invest in it. You got to remember with a lot of these high flyers, and I'm definitely putting Palantir in there. Take a look at the returns. You'll understand what I'm saying. It's pretty easy to find online that with a lot of these companies, obviously, it's never going to be straight up. It's never going to be, even when they're a high flyer, even when Wall Street seems to really like them, never going to be straight up over a prolonged period of time. Palantir had an amazing run, and then the last couple of days here, when it was, let's say, postulated by the market that because the Department of Defense, i.e. the Pentagon, was probably going to have some level of reduction in their budget, there was some, let's call it guesswork by the market, that would affect Palantir and some of their contracts with the Department of Defense. Also, their CEO, current CEO, a gentleman named Alex Karp, recently announced that he's going to be selling about $1 billion worth of the shares. Well, that tends to get the market a little bit jumpy whenever the CEO is selling a big block of shares. Now, for so many of these CEOs, very, very important to keep in mind, for so many of these CEOs of publicly traded companies, they are both on buy structures and sell structures. What I mean by that is very often these buys and sells are planned out well in advance. They have to disclose to the market through a series of filings, sometimes called 144 filings, that they have to disclose to the market when they are going to sell and how much they are going to sell. And the reason for that is to reduce the incidences of insider trading or of things that the company, internal company shareholders are not, about which they may not be aware. It's meant to be very transparent, and it does a job of that. It's not perfect, but it does a job of that. So these kinds of things are not unusual, is what I'm saying. This is not the kind of thing like, oh my gosh, he's selling a huge block of his shares. We probably want to take a look at how many shares he actually owns, because we're talking about billions, multiple billions of dollars. So selling a block of shares, even a big block of shares, is not out of the ordinary. It really is. This isn't an unusual kind of occurrence or something that never has that. But the combination of the announcement that the Pentagon / Department of Defense may be cutting their budget, and the CEO is going to be selling a fairly big block of shares, well, that's spooked the stock. So the stock's been down about 20% here over the last couple of days. It will be interesting to see if that maintains. Again, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the company, just a word of caution. Because, again, it's been one of these darlings. A lot of people have wanted to get into it here over the last several months because it's done very, very well. Some folks say this is the next iteration of NVIDIA. It's not true. It's an entirely different company and a different focus point, and it's very dangerous to say that just because we had this experience, we're going to have this kind of experience, which is very similar to it. That's dangerous when it comes to investing. No two companies are the same. No two companies run on the same trajectory either. So you just want to be cautious. If it's something that's been on your radar screen, or if you own some, great. That probably means that you've had some notable amount of appreciation, especially if you've owned it for longer than about 6 months or so. I'm glad for you, but maybe take a look at whether you take some of those gains off the table or not. Bird in the hand. You're never going to be sorry about a bird in the hand. That's just my personal opinion there. All right, let's keep going. Big one. Big. When we're talking about consumer sentiment, the strength of the buying public, you can't get much larger than this. And actually, in my opinion, you don't get larger than this. And that's Walmart. Walmart, Walter Mary Tom, is the ticker symbol, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the bonds. Came out with quarterly earnings. Frankly, I thought the report was good. I looked at the 10Q, listened to the conference call, and I thought, boy, this sounds pretty good. Strong through the holiday season, 20% increase in their e-commerce or their online purchasing through the holiday season. Very strong numbers. I found them to be very favorable. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. Again, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock, but I thought the quarterly report was quite good. But boy, the market didn't like what they said about what's going to happen going forward. They really tempered, meaning that the CFO and others who were on the call really tempered expectations about what 2026 is going to look like, and that spooked the market. Pre-market was down about 11%. As it came into to the open of the market today, as of the time of this live broadcast, came in about 4% down. I think it was about 7 or 8% down before I came on air here. Not sure where it closed the day out, but that's a lot of movement. For a company this size, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars here, meaning in terms of market cap. Company the size of Walmart to move 6, 7, 8, 9% in a day, huge. Tens of billions of dollars, huge amount of movement in a given day. And I don't know that their outlook on 2026 warranted that, frankly. I'm not saying that again, it's a buy or anything like that. Not saying that at all. What I am saying is that it was interesting to see how much the market moved on a company like Walmart. And I'll just draw them next to Palantir. I understand why Palantir moves 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% a day. I mean, it is a very, very rich stock. And by rich, I mean the multiple, it's price to sales, price to earnings, that at which it trades. It is very, very expensive in terms of those kinds of metrics. Walmart, not the case. Walmart, much larger, blue chip style company, steady growth sort of thing through the years. For them to move 6, 7, 8, 9% in a given day, very, very unusual. So I was surprised to see that, especially again as they're looking at 2026 and what they anticipate. And they were reserved. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to set a low bar so it's easier for them to exceed it as we go throughout the year. That's also a strategy that some of these publicly traded companies have, to keep the public's expectations low so that there is an easier bar that they can exceed relative to future quarterly earnings calls. Don't know if that's the case here, but they were pretty muted in terms of their expectation for the consumer, not just currently, but here over the course of the next year and more. And so is that an indication about the strength of the consumer? Like I said, I don't know. I don't know that that's the case. Like I said, the last quarter for Walmart was spectacular, I thought. And but now they've had a lot of growth in the stock price here in the last year. Somewhat unusual, meaning they've had over 50% growth here in the last year, which for a company the size and style of Walmart, very unusual for them to move that amount. So maybe this is just a little bit of that, blowing off the top, if you will, and collecting some of your gains. But it was unusual, I think, that there was the kind of movement that the market made with a company like Walmart. And is that an indication about where the consumer is? I mean, you hear me say all the time that the consumer, 2/3 to 3/4 of our overall economy, we are a spending economy or a consumer-driven economy, meaning as the consumer spends, so we move. As an economy. Is that an indication about the consumer slowing down a little bit because of that? Maybe. Or is it that Walmart's just trying to ease up expectations and creating spaces where they can exceed those expectations in a positive way as they hit the next earnings call? No way to know up front. It's not the kind of thing that we can tell today, but it is the kind of thing that we're watching and the kind of thing that should be on your radar screen as well, as we're seeking to always comprehend what's happening economically and financially around us. I appreciate you folks hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents. We're going to take a break as we hear from our sponsors here on WSIC.
Dollars and Cents with your host, certified financial planner Joshua Dobi, continues straight ahead on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, cold and windy for the rest of our Thursday evening. That wind starts to relax as we go into the late night hours, but it gets bitterly cold in the overnight hours. Temperatures will fall down into the upper teens by early Friday morning. It's a sunny day, but a chilly day to end the work week with high temperatures in the low to mid 40s. We'll stay dry through the weekend and into early next week and gradually get a little bit warmer. We're headed back to the 60s next week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Inspire your team and gallop to greatness. Our horses at Willow Equine are outstanding at working with people on leadership and team building skills, perfect for corporate retreats. Visit willowequine.com as you gallop to greatness.
Would you like to change your health situation? Improve your current health with a wellness consultation with me, Fred Lowry, pharmacist and doctor of natural medicine. I'll work with you to reach your individual goals. This includes a review of your current medications, supplements, diet, and lifestyle choices. This is a progressive way to improve your current health position for your future. Great for individuals or couples wanting to make improvement. Call me at Lowry Drug in Statesville, 704-873-2247.
Harrison's is the home of Work, Western, and wow! We're the Southeast leader in Carhartt, and nobody has more in-stock work boots. The store is filled with Harriet, Cinch, Wrangler, and more. Get great clothing and footwear for the whole family at Harrison's. Find us on Norman Station Boulevard in Mooresville.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Smile brighter all year long with Crawford and Colvin Dentistry in Huntersville. Enjoy professional tooth whitening. Take-home trays or in-office options are available. It's time to shine brighter. You're worth it. Visit LakeNormanDentist.com.
It ain't easy being number one, but we make it look good.
WSIC.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks have fallen from their all-time highs as a weak forecast from the world's largest retailer added to concerns about the economy's main engine. Walmart, the first big-box retailer to report results after the holiday season, is seeing its shares sink today. Markets are all lower. They're down between 0.5% and 1%. There were 5,000 more unemployment claims last week compared with the prior week. Initial filings totaled 219,000 when analysts were expecting something closer to 215,000. Continuing claims also saw an increase of 24,000. Well, just as this year's tax season is starting to pick up, the IRS is being forced by the Trump administration to lay off roughly 6,000 probationary workers beginning today. Earlier today, Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told Fox News Trump's goal is to abolish the IRS and let all the outsiders pay. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
Nothing but the best talk.
The area's best talk.
WSIC.
Now more of Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second half of today's show, Football Reference. Appreciate you hanging with us. If you're at 9 to 5 or 26 minutes and 10 seconds until you get to that 5 o'clock bell, I appreciate so much you hanging with us here during that time frame, especially if you're looking towards the end of your day as we're talking about all things financial and economic, and we're anecdotal as well, meaning that we're going to bring in some stuff on other words that begin with F besides financial. And before you get too carried away, I'm talking mostly about food and football. We're talking about both of those. We'll be talking more food here in just a moment. But before I do that, got to talk on a company that, boy, I mentioned the phrase or the phraseology of Wall Street darling. Sometimes when companies just seem to be on a great streak and their prices their stock prices appreciating, and it seems like there's very strong buying strength into them for prolonged periods of time. They sometimes are called darlings. And I mentioned that with regards to certainly Palantir here over the last several months or so, and that cooling off quite a bit here over the last couple of days. Got to bring up another one, which is unfortunately going through even a very, very challenging space. Really have to call it that, and that is the company Nikola, Nikola, ticker symbol Nancy Karen Laser Alpha NKLA. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock, but unfortunately announced that they're going to be going through bankruptcy. Now, if you're not familiar with Nikola Corporation, they are primarily in the business of the production of electronic vehicles, specifically electric pickup trucks or electric trucks. And unfortunately, just due to the cost of production and the inability to sell enough units to be able to offset those costs, they are now going into Chapter 11. It also should be known that there were several attempts by several different entities, including by some of their lenders and other private equity and private buyer options that all tried to pick up on the company as it was going towards bankruptcy and just couldn't come to a space that made any financial sense. So that was the reason for the movement into bankruptcy. Again, just costs exceeding expense or costs exceeding revenue by a significant margin for a significant period of time. And now in a space. Now, Nikola for a while there, I mean, they were, got to call them that, got to call them Wall Street darlings. I mean, in the whole EV, electric vehicle push, call it craze, whatever you like to call it, here of certainly several years ago. They were among the ones that were out there and certainly trying to push as one of the players in the EV mix of things, and just always had struggles. I mean, they were even in the production end of things, looking at tractor trailer style trucks as well. So not just pickup trucks for the retail consumer, but also looking at the production of tractor trailer style or tractors specifically. That when I say tractors, I'm talking about the front end of an 18-wheeler. That they were trying to get into that market as well, as Tesla has done, as a couple of other EV entities have done as well. And boy, just couldn't make it work. And so now, unfortunately, needing to declare bankruptcy. And I'm saying all that, yes, because of where Nikola was in the lexicon of things, certainly in this EV market. Not me talking down to EVs or the industry overall, but just about how incredibly challenging it has been and continues to be for companies who are in the EV space. And I say that because Nikola is not a unique example in terms of companies struggling. Even companies as large as Ford Motor Company, as large as Volkswagen, as large as General Motors have had significant challenges in their EV lines of things, to the extent that, I just heard this from General Motors about a month or so ago, that their targets for 2030, 2035, in terms of the percentage of their vehicles that would be EV, they've literally thrown that out the window, meaning that there's not going to be those same kinds of targets, of turning 30, 40, 50% or more of production over to EV. The market's just not there. And now what's starting to happen, we're seeing this definitely played into some of the challenges that Nikola has and continues to face, is that now we have a tremendous amount of supply on the market, especially with used EVs. And that is putting a strain on pricing already needing to be at certain levels in order to justify the costs of those vehicles, and the profits are just getting squeezed to nil. So that's a challenge right now. Nikola going through a tough space, but not unique to them. And the entire EV space overall needing to figure out how it's going to look, meaning what is it going to look like as an industry, especially as some of these larger legacy players are starting to take, no pun intended, their foot off the gas a little bit as far as the production goals, targets are concerned, and having a very difficult time because of how expensive these vehicles are to produce, in being able to charge a high enough price and having enough folks who are willing to pay for it. So we're going to watch that, but definitely notable there on Nikola as far as needing to declare bankruptcy. All right, let's keep going. This is kind of fun. This company, I'll admit, not been on my radar screen previously. I'm familiar with the entities or the retail outlets of this particular company, but at least to this point, had not been on my radar screen, and was just kind of interesting to see that. They're in the Wall Street Journal as well. They're in the business and finance section. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold them, but they're called the Lucky Strike Entertainment Company. All right, and here's the ticker symbol. Probably, I guess it's maybe a little bit intuitive. Is Lucy Umbrella Charlie Kelly, LUCK. You got it. Luck is the ticker symbol. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock, but they primarily, the company, the corporation, primarily run bowling alleys. And now when we're talking bowling alleys, we're not talking bowling alleys like when I grew up. I mean, bowling alleys were kind of hazy, smoke-filled places that sold cheap beer and even cheaper food, and they were just kind of local, neighborhood kind of establishments whenever I was growing up. These things now, these are entertainment centers. I mean, they got so much going on. I've even seen bowling alleys. They got the arcades, but you could play laser tag. They got gourmet food options. I mean, there's a whole lot going on now that doesn't have anything to do with bowling. Anyhow, Lucky Strike definitely in that business, and talking about the kinds of things that they're adding to the experience there. So whether it's higher grade food items, I mean things like herb truffle seasoning, poke bowls. I mean, I don't know about you, I never went to a bowling alley that had anything close to a poke bowl. It was fried chicken wings and cheap beer. I'm not kidding. That's what it was in the ones that I was used to. But now you got places have coat checks, and they have technology that allows you to get your food faster at your table. These are incredibly robust entertainment centers, and but they're also looking to cut costs. This was kind of interesting as it was printed in the Journal that they're looking to cut costs as well. And one of the ways, and this would be hard to do in the South, but one of the ways that they were trying to cut costs as a corporation for all their different locations is to turn the air conditioning off at night. Now, if anybody has ever tried to cool a large, high-ceiling space, especially one that is as wide open as a bowling alley is, that's hard. That's hard. It's hard to cool that space, especially in the South when you get to the summer months, June, July, August. Oh my! I mean, those things can turn into hot boxes pretty quick. But they're trying to do that as a way, if they're increasing the experience on the customer end of things. Are there things they can do to mitigate some of that cost experience for themselves internally to be able to keep some margins, especially as a publicly traded company? So I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, Lucky Strike Entertainment, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock, but certainly they're out there. And they have a couple of banners that are underneath them as well, Bolero and AMF. AMF was the one with which I was familiar as well, meaning in terms of locations that I've seen that are AMF locations. So just kind of interesting, definitely out there in terms of the entertainment experience, but still always facing the challenges that come with increasing the customer experience, but also needing to watch their overhead in the ways they do that. All right, let's keep going. A little bit more of the food theme here. Shake Shack. Holy mackerel. Shake Shack, ticker symbol Sam Henry Alpha Kelly. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock. And I say, holy mackerel, yeah. I mean, I could take a Shake Shack shake and a burger. I mean, I can do that. I mean, it's every day of the week, twice on Sunday kind of thing. That's just me. I'm not saying to buy, sell, or hold the stock. I'm saying I like to eat when I say that. Anyhow, great quarter that they had here. Margins increasing. Top line revenue, bottom line margins, both increasing notably above market expectations. Stock shot up double digits percentage-wise, up over 10% on the day as of the time that I jumped on the air here. Some very interesting ambitions for continuing to expand the number of Shake Shack locations. And that I thought it was ambitious relative to the number of locations they have currently. Right now at several hundred, and looking to get up to 1,500. I mean, that's a lot of movement, and something, it always comes with these kinds of things. How fast they grow, meaning faster is not always better, is going to be a big barometer, and how they're able to manage that growth in a healthy way and continue to keep the margins that they have and also keep the quality that they have there as well. But this past quarter, just knocked it out of the park. Did a very, very good job there. McDonald's, all right, ticker symbol Mary Charlie Daniel. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold stock. Feel like I need to say that McDonald's didn't have quarterly earnings, but it is the season now that we are completely beyond by several days the Valentine's Day season. Now it's St. Patrick's Day, right? I mean, mid-March here. It's going to be here before we know it. Shamrock Shake time. You probably have already been there. If you're a McDonald's person, you probably already know that. Shamrock Shake time. That is one of their most popular kind of seasonal sort of offerings that they have there. Man, a lot of you folks really like the Shamrock Shake. Anyhow, it's out there if you're not aware of it. And if you're a Shamrock Shake fan and you didn't know it was out there, well, now you know that it's back into Shamrock Shake season. I better not say that too many times fast. I might get tripped up. I appreciate you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. Hang with us as we get ready here for the fourth quarter on WSIC.
Keep it right here. Dollars and Cents with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi will return shortly on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, cold and windy for the rest of our Thursday evening. That wind starts to relax as we go into the late night hours, but it gets bitterly cold in the overnight hours. Temperatures will fall down into the upper teens by early Friday morning. It's a sunny day, but a chilly day to end the work week with high temperatures in the low to mid 40s. We'll stay dry through the weekend and into early next week and gradually get a little bit warmer. We're headed back to the 60s next week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Thursday, February 20th is a fundraiser for Soul to Soul's Connection at Rio 150 in Mooresville. Eat out on Thursday with Rio's Mexican food menu, and a portion of all proceeds go directly to veteran and first responder mental health problems. Your participation will help stop the stigma. Eat out at Rio 150 Mexican restaurant in Mooresville on Thursday and help raise funds for veteran and first responder mental health programs. Join the Statesville Chamber of Commerce on Thursday, February 20th for a night of celebration and recognition with the annual SAGE Awards for Statesville area growth and excellence. The event honors individuals and organizations that have made significant impacts on the community. The SAGE Awards begin at 6 p.m. Thursday at the Statesville Civic Center. Visit statesvillechamber.org for your tickets. Saturday night, Fortune 5 returns to the 500 Club in Statesville. Fortune 5 won the Battle of the Bands in 2024 and now bring their infectious energy to Statesville. Check out the Fortune 5 concert at 6 p.m. this Saturday at the 500 Club. Extreme Experience was founded with the goal of making the world's finest exotic cars accessible and to drive new Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and Porsches on the world-class racetracks. Extreme Experience provides the safest and most educational approach to drivers and passengers who wish to experience the thrill of the world's most exclusive cars. Book your Extreme Experience now at 866-273-7727 or visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for more information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Merlefest 2025, presented by Window World, returns April 24th through the 27th in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear the Avett Brothers, Bonnie Raitt, the Dead South, Watch House, Wyatt Flores, I'm With Her, Leftover Salmon, The Warren Treaty, The Steel Drivers, and many more. For tickets, visit merlefest.org.
Call now to speak with certified financial planner Joshua Dobi at 844-STUDIO-4. It's Dollars and Cents on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Fourth quarter of today's show, Football Reference. We're almost there, folks. 11 minutes, 55 seconds until we get to the 5 o'clock bell. Thank you for spending that time with us here as we're giving attention to all things economic and financial. And just before we were going to break there, and producer Reese and I were chatting during the break, we're talking about Shake Shack and burgers and Shamrock Shakes, all the things that we pretty much love the most when it comes to food-related kinds of things. But we're also talking about, my goodness, how expensive it is. And, we talk about inflation on here a lot here on Dollars and Cents for the obvious reasons, especially here over the last couple of years as we had a significant spike up in inflation and then a significant increase in interest rates by the Federal Reserve in bringing those rates down, which certainly has happened here over the last couple of years. But still, that the going out to eat experience, it's expensive. It really is expensive. And I'm not saying that to speak down to or against our restaurants or quick serve restaurants or anything like that. What I'm saying, it's just expensive. And it's very interesting to see the kinds of things that these organizations, that these restaurants, and sometimes even specific locations in these restaurants are doing to continue to encourage folks to come through the doors and or to roll through the drive-through in order to be able to sell more of the food. And they run specials and they run other opportunities to do that, but you got to watch P's and Q's. You really do. You really got to watch that kind of thing. Now, speaking of quick serve restaurant, got to bring this one up. And they're always doing something, I feel like, or at least I shouldn't say that. They're always coming across my timeline on X, that's for sure. And that is Taco Bell. Taco Bell, not publicly traded, but owned by a larger organization, which is Yum Brands. I mean, come on, is that not the best name for anything that's food related? Yum Brands. Yes, it is. Ticker symbol YUM, Yellow Umbrella Marvin. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock. I mean, that's got to be one of the best ticker symbols and company names of all time. Anyhow, Taco Bell owned by Yum Brands, and in addition to several other banners as well. But they are in collaboration, and they came out with this with a dessert group for these frosting filled churros. Now, I think if you are one who is familiar with Taco Bell, and I mean, they're known for fast food fast. I mean, that's really their moniker there, and they're bringing it. They have all kinds of stuff. They're good stuff. Often late night kind of food, right? That folks like to eat from there. But this is a little bit sweet. So usually you're talking about the more savory end of things, whether you're talking about tacos or burritos or other kinds of things. This definitely on the dessert end of things, frosting filled churros. I don't know. I took a look at it. I give it 2 thumbs up. I mean, I haven't even had one yet. I'm already giving it 2 thumbs up. Definitely could have that on one side while I have a taco or two on the other side of things there. Anyhow, kind of interesting to see that sort of thing. So if you're a taco fan favorite, then you may want to check that out. See what's out there with the frosting filled churros. All right, let's keep going here. And one more food item here. Got to bring this up. It's such a huge trend now that especially among beverage manufacturers that really can't hurt ever to bring this kind of thing up. Looking at Coca-Cola, ticker symbol Kelly Oscar, KO, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock. Now, they have a number of labels under Coca-Cola, not just Coca-Cola, but a number of labels, including what I would broadly call their health drink line, or let's call it health conscious drink line of things. And I bumped across one I hadn't seen previously, and literally this it's a soda, but it's a prebiotic soda. Now, I'm not enough of an expert on things health oriented to understand prebiotic and probiotic and the relationship between the two, except I know that one dissolves relatively easily and the other doesn't dissolve very easily. Anyhow, the idea behind it that these sodas are prebiotics. They're called Simply Pop. And again, under the larger umbrella of the Coca-Cola Corporation, and they are meant to help with the digestive process, and they're meant to be more of a healthy alternative than, say, more sugar-based kinds of traditional sodas or other sugar-based drinks. I thought that was very interesting. The whole health drink end of things continues to expand notably. I mean, we saw that in part even from beer manufacturers with seltzers, and specifically with alcoholic seltzers or spiked seltzers that are out there, became huge, still very, very big out there in the marketplace. We've seen this with not just energy drink, but then healthy energy drink kinds of things from several of our beverage manufacturers, and then even more so, like literally looking at not just electrolytes like the traditional Gatorade kind of experience, but all nutrients, vitamins. I mean, gosh, it looks like something you could literally drink in the morning sometimes, right? And provide you all the vitamins that you need for the day. But there definitely has been and continues to be a push in that end of things, and it continues to be a space where margin-wise, very opportunistic, not just for Coca-Cola, but also for large manufacturers like Pepsi, like Dr. Pepper Keurig as well. Not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any of those entities either, but still very interesting to see. So always something happening in the food end of things. All right, fourth quarter, got to talk markets here, and you heard me talk a little bit earlier about Palantir and about how they're cooling off a little bit now. Definitely a darling in the market, falling about 20-ish% here in the last couple of days, which happens with those high flyers. The ones that tend to, and you'd see me make this kind of look all the time, putting your hands together and making it look like a mountain, meaning that mountains can go up and mountains can come down when it comes to price movements, in particular high-flying stocks or high-flying securities. So it's very, very important to keep that kind of thing in mind, because we tend to think in straight lines. We do. We do it as a market all the time. We think in straight lines when it's positive. We think in straight lines when it's negative. We think when it's going up, it's going to continue to go up forever. We think when it's going to go down, it's going to go down forever. Folks, all you got to do is take a little look at market history, and not that much of it, to understand that it's constantly moving in waves. There are peaks, there are valleys, and there's a whole lot of time in between when it comes to how the market moves. So when we see things that have had a superlative kind of increase in the stock price, especially in a short period of time, it's natural that those things are going to cool off sometimes just as fast. It's a very natural course of events. That's what we've seen with Palantir. We've also seen in other high-flying technology companies as well. Definitely some cooling off. Definitely when we had, excuse me, DeepSeek here a couple of weeks ago, when that broke, that news coming out of China, that definitely was a significant cooling factor for just about every semiconductor company here of significance here in the U.S. that's publicly traded, and for a number of other AI-related companies here as well, that we definitely saw that pullback, a very quick pullback in a very short amount of time. So I say that to say we've had those things. They've cooled off a little bit, but what we've actually seen as well, outside of today, at least as of the time that I came on the air, definitely was cooling off in this sector a little bit as well. But to this point, banks, financials, even not just the big money center banks, but regional banks as well, definitely on the oil and energy end of things, even though we haven't seen a significant increase in the price of a barrel of oil here recently, but definitely some increase in some of the company names, the companies that both drill and produce raw oil as well. Definitely have seen some positive movement there. Have seen it in the pharmaceutical end of things, meaning several companies of the large players in the pharmaceutical end of things have had a good start to the year as well. So what does all of that mean? Oh, I'm going to give you a terrible answer to start. Nobody knows. Nobody does. We all have our ideas, right? And then we take a look at the proverbial tea leaves and we try to ascertain in the best ways that we can about not only where we are, but where about we think we're going. But it's the kind of thing that is constantly evolving. And let me say it to you this way with kind of an easy kind of example. Just because it was great last year doesn't mean necessarily, and actually percentage-wise, pretty good chance, that it won't be as great this year. That's not always true, but it definitely is true that there are things that are at the top of the heap and the bottom of the heap. There was a chart, I think that's still out there at this point, that used to track the 30 companies in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Now, that's a little bit challenging because the Dow Jones Industrial Average constituency changes over time, but the idea behind it was there are always going to be companies in the Dow that were at the top and always companies that were at the bottom. And as a matter of fact, there was even an investment philosophy that said that you should, quote, always, and it was a proverbial you, meaning all of you, should always invest in the previous year's dogs of the Dow, or those things that were at the bottom of the Dow the previous year, because the idea was that there was going to be rotation of those companies from the bottom to the top, or at least higher than what they were in the previous year. Now, does that work all the time? No. Is it something that's of consideration that you buy good companies when they're on a dip? Sure. That's certainly something to consider, but it's also true that not everybody's situation is the same. Meaning that everybody's situation is unique, so it doesn't apply to everybody. But it is an interesting kind of thought process when we're looking at how companies generally move. So when we're talking about the market for this year then, and the reason why I'm bringing that up and highlighting it in this way is don't get carried away with what happened yesterday or last year. I'm going to say it again. Don't get carried away with what happened yesterday or last month or last year, because that's not necessarily where the market is going. It might be that what worked last year may be the kind of thing that works this year. But again, if you're just talking about what's going to work, folks, that's not investing, that's guessing. So be cautious. Make sure you're making your decisions for the right reasons. Simply investing in what's hot and it's not necessarily going to serve you well over the long term. Take your time. Do your due diligence. I brought up the Nikola example here because it's happening in real time, but it wasn't all that long ago when I had all kinds of arguments being made to me about how that was where we should all be investing our money because that's where the future of the automobile was going. Well, maybe, but it doesn't appear like it's going that way for Nikola. And so that's why I'm bringing that up again in this moment here, saying don't just get carried away with what happens to be working well today or what happened to work well in the past. It's much more important, hockey analogy, to understand where the puck is going rather than where it sits today. So be very, very cautious of that. It's very easy to start thinking in straight lines. It's very easy to get caught up in the emotion of the moment, to follow what's hot, to be just going after what happens to be the big name of the moment. There are several of them out there right now. So you want to get very cautious about just simply following what your friend has done or what somebody else has done that has worked out well for them. Because again, it's not so much about where we are today, but it's about where the market is going. All right, friends. Well, I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by WSIC.
WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Mooresville, W260